This is a deep problem for and all African nation is struggling with it. I think we also France in the World Cup, in the Qatar World Cup, as the last World Cup, we also that France team. Most of the players are, I think, African, and in the World Cup 2018, we also the Belgium. Most of the
Right.
players of the team is African. So this is very important and very important problem, and it's a huge problem and a hard problem.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sports Law Edge podcast. My name is Tushar Kateria, and today we have a special guest from the Egypt, Mr. Islam Hisham, who is an international sports lawyer, someone who is working into the very interesting areas into the sports sector, as well as he is from the Egypt and he is know about how the African nations work into the sporting sector. So, first of all, Mr. Hisham, thank you so much for coming on board for this episode of this podcast. It's our honor to have you on board for this episode.
Really, also I'm happy to be with you in your interesting podcast. Really, I was happy to be here, and thank you for your introduction. Really, it's a good introduction, and also interesting to be here with you in your interesting podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much. So let's start our podcast. So as we all know that sports lawyer who are entering into the industry, they have their own story. How your journey started into the sports legal industry, how you ended up being a sports lawyer and working into this industry. We really want to know how your journey started.
Actually, my journey in sports law, in sports legal industry, started too early. When I think when I was young, when I was 10 years old. As I'm so lucky because I belong to a sporty family. My dad is a football coach, and my uncle who was playing in one of the important football clubs in Egypt, Al Zamalek. So really, I'm so lucky to belong to this family, which supported me a lot to be a football player and to play in many Egyptian football clubs when I was young. Since I was young, since I was 10 years old, I played in a lot of clubs. I played in a lot of teams, and I think it's helped me a lot to know and to be involved in this industry too early. So I think I gained a lot of background too early in this field. I gained a lot of information, like to know when what the employment contract is. I think I remember that the first contract I signed after I being professional. I think it was on when I was 18. I don't remember which year. I think it's 2006 maybe. So this is the first contract I signed, and also before that we signed an amateur contract. I think you know that. So
Right.
I saw a lot of employment contract when I was young. This is helping me a lot when helping me a lot to be a sports lawyer later on. So also I know too early what is the registration period is.
Right.
When too early what is the eligibility to participate in the match, and
Right.
when the player is be eligible to participate in the match and when is not. So
Mm-hmm.
really, I'm so lucky to be involved in this field too early. And also after I finished my career as a
Mm-hmm.
sports lawyer, as a footballer, I
Mm-hmm.
decided to not go far away from sports or from football, and I
Right.
a referee. Also, this this position helped me a lot to know a lot of things about the industry, to know a lot of things about the ethics code, the disciplinary code, how to report, how to write the report after the matches, how to manage the matches. So As you know, I think I have a license from Egyptian Football Association to manage Egyptian league,
Yeah.
top division and second division, and all divisions in as a referee. And I was practicing football during my. I was practice football to manage a matches as a football referee during my studying law,
Yeah.
and also. To be honest, I see myself as lucky that I get involved with all these things. And to surprise you, after I finished my studying law, I didn't decide to work as a sports lawyer, because sports law in Egypt is too new, or is recent law in Egypt. So
Right.
I think I graduated in 2013, and in this at this year we all didn't know a lot about sports law, and I started my career as a lawyer, general lawyer, who works in local and international law firms that is specializing in family law, corporate law, criminal law, and commercial, and so on. And after 4 years or 5 years, I think, from my career, 4 years, I started my career as a sports law. And yes, after I started my career, also I was lucky to started my career on one of the biggest and important law firms specializing in sports law in Middle East, sport makers. And after
Right.
that, I got a huge opportunity to be the head of the legal department of Al-Nassr Saudi club, the club of Cristiano now. So after I stayed with them three seasons. After I finished the work with them, I returned back to Egypt again, and I established my own business. So I'm now founder of Sports and Justice Law Firm and Academy, and sport and international sports lawyer who can give advice to players and the clubs and all elements in this field. And this is my journey from
Yeah.
the beginning until now.
Yeah, that's really great at how because especially people like us who are working into the sports legal industry as a sports lawyer, we have certain kind of background that we either involve in some other sports, either we are playing as amateur athlete, either we are been organizing such kind of event, and that's the thing that we always connected to the sports until
Yes.
our death. And that's why the sports law are really special, sports and gaming law especially, they are really special because they know how the in and out of the game, they know how the organization structure work, and that really help us out to advise our client in the best way possible. And that's the best thing that we can do as a sports and gaming lawyer. Speaking
Yeah.
of which, that you talk about that you have the official license from the Egyptian Football Association about the referee, and you are the you used to referee the certain matches. So how is the experience being on the football ground? How has that experience really helped you to understand more about the, because it's a very different set. Playing a football is a very different thing, but being a match
Yes.
official, being referee in that ground in that particular match, it's totally different because in a very quick succession, you have to take a decision on spot whether it's a yellow card or a red card
Yes.
or there's any foul or not. So yeah, please go ahead. I
Yes.
really want to enjoy to know
Yes.
about it.
Yes. Yes. At the beginning, before starting to be a football referee, I was refused to enter to this occupation because I felt that this occupation was hard, something like that. And you can that the referee should manage and should control the match between two teams, each of them 11 players, with the staff, with fans,
Right.
with a lot of things. So I think it's very hard. It's very hard. And to be a football referee, you have to take the decision in 1 second.
Right.
If you close your eyes like that, maybe mistake will happen. So really, I see this occupation is very hard. It's very hard, and also, but at the same time, it's enjoyable.
Right.
I was enjoying to practice this thing, and also I gained a lot of interpersonal skills
Right.
from this career.
Right.
Like, I think you have to know how to manage the team, You have to know
Right.
how to put your rules to control the two teams. Maybe each of teams have a big star, have a
Right.
superstar player. How to talk with them, how to give
Right.
him red card, how to show him the yellow card. So when's the time to do that, and when's the
Mm-hmm.
time to shout to the player, and when's the time to make the player calm or to keep them calm.
Right.
So this is very important thing, and this is need to work hard to gain
Mm-hmm.
more interpersonal skills to control yourself. You can't
Right.
imagine how the pressure gained to
Mm-hmm.
the referee when he manage the matches. You can't imagine that when you have two big teams with the big
Mm-hmm.
supporters and the fans,
Right.
and these teams fighting to be a top in the league or something like that. So I think I was lucky to be football free, and I gained a lot of interpersonal in this by work by being as a football free. This is very important thing to me, and I gained a lot of interpersonal skills. Like I said to you, these skills helped me a lot to be a sports lawyer,
Right.
and because I work as a football referee, like I said to you, I get informed, or I viewed a lot of regulation about FIFA and about Egyptian Football Association, and there is a lot of experience and hard experience you can face in this career when you manage matches. For me, it's very amazing to merge between your hobby
Right.
as football referee and your occupation as a sports lawyer. And
Right.
anyone wants to want to achieve success in any industry, I think they should to merge between their hobby and their occupation.
Absolutely. Completely agree with you. Yeah, because the
Yes.
thing is, because India, in especially in India, what I saw that we are very rigid in terms of the our occupation, and especially where I'm
Mm.
from, because now the environment is completely different. Now parents are looking forward that now there's a time that young kids can end up their career into the sporting in the sporting future,
Yes.
and that's why I can think now, yeah, because when I started playing
Yes.
in 2002, 2003, I was around, I think, 7 or 8 years old. And at that time, it's really different. But now the things, right now, a lot of things changed because we having a good ecosystem, especially in cricket, because in India, cricket something is a major sport. It's a global sport right now in India. We are
Yes.
still working in football because I'm looking forward how will India will achieve that 2047 goal, which has been established by the All India Football Federation, that how we will play into the World Cup if we are targeting to play such kind of global events. If we want to play in the FIFA World Cup, how we
Yeah.
will have that approach. But for that, we should have the accessibility of the public plus, so that the young kids can play the football as a recreational game. Even the schools also have this certain ground, have they shall have the playgrounds, so that young student can play in that, they whatever sport they want to play in that ground. So yeah, these are my views on how it will happen in the next 20, 30 years, but let's see what will happen after this.
Yes.
So, yeah, speaking of which, you are from the Egypt, and you know how the football market work into the African nation. So how it work, how it is different from the European country or from the Asian country, how the market work in the Egypt as well as in the African region, because we see that how African nations perform regularly into the FIFA World Cup, and this year, last year, the FIFA World Cup happened, and African nations have done pretty well in terms of the
Yes.
expected. So we will talk about that later. But first, how the football market work into the African nations and in the Egypt.
Really, actually, this is very wide question to answer. But to be honest with you, that this market in Africa, the market in Africa and Egypt are the same, and also it's difficult.
Mhm.
It's difficult more than the market in Europe and Asia. As I think the market in Africa and the market in Egypt, needs more uh, regulation, needs more
Mhm.
integrity, needs more interferency to be in
Correct.
line
Mhm.
with the FIFA regulation and with the sports international system. The African market and Africa and Egypt are the same. As I told you, that we need more professional regulation, we need more professional law, we need
Mhm.
more integrity and interferency to
Mhm.
be in line in the sports international system and to be in
Mhm.
line with FIFA regulation. You can imagine that, for example, here in Egypt, we don't have a court to compete or to a court specializing in sports law or specializing to resolve the disputes in sports law. Also, in
Mhm.
Egyptian Football Association, here in Egypt, we don't have a chamber
Mhm.
to resolve the disputes between the elements of the football or between the disputes, sports disputes. So also, we need more professional regulation for player status and transfers. We need more professional regulation to disciplinary and ethics. Also in the CAF, in the CAF, the Confederation of Africa, we need also more and more professional regulation.
Mhm.
So I think the governments in Egypt and I think in some countries in Africa seeks and aims a lot to amend their laws and amend their regulation to be in line with the FIFA regulations. And also here in Egypt, we work on that. We work hard on that. But to summarize this period, we need the football market in Egypt and Africa. I can say that we need more professional regulation and to govern sports with an integrity and transparency.
Right, right. Because we
Yes.
see that, yeah. Because what I see, because what I played cricket in the past, so there's some of the time when the cricket board they done something which really affected the national cricket team, and it happened with the Zimbabwe. This happened with the Namibia. I think in prior to 2015 World Cup, and because there are so many dispute and which have to be resolved. And I agree that they are there's a less specialized code which can resolve the dispute. And right now, I think last year only in Gujarat we recently got the new arbitration, especially in India, which can settle a dispute in regards to the sporting matters, which can really dispute the matters in very quick way. And let's see what will happen, because these are the market which is very exciting. But the sporting governance principles shall be evolved every time, because we see how especially in India last year AI the All India Football Federation got banned by the FIFA because the elections are not being held by the AIFF on a regular basis from the past 3 years, and that's why it got banned. But somehow, Supreme Court of India, they already set up the committee. They had to draft the new constitution, and the new constitution has been implemented, and the new election has been conducted by the in the presence of the FIFA and the Asian Football Confederation. So that thing resolved, but will the sporting principles, sporting governance principles are being evolved? We have to check that also, because there's a certain checks and
Yes.
balances which should be taken into the consideration. So these are the views that it's a very conflicting thing, that how we have to manage the sporting federation, because there's a lot of stakeholders into the sporting
Yes.
industry.
Yes.
So
Right.
these are the main issues which I think uh, ministers, the people who are working as administrators into the sporting federation or the sporting associations, they have to be evolving. They have to evolve their working style also, because there are so many things which come on board and they got stuck because they are too rigid to change it.
Because what?
Because they are too rigid. They are very rigid. They are very stubborn in nature, and these are the
Yes.
things that.
Yes. Yes. I think so. I think so. Uh, yes, you are right. We like we say, like you said, especially in Africa, and yeah, and a lot of countries in Africa need more development, we need more improving. We heard a lot that there is a federation banned from FIFA because there is a lot of manipulation and something like
Right.
something like that. So here we struggling a lot in Africa about from all of these things. I don't know what the situation in Asia also, but I think also there is a problem for some countries in Asia, and
Right.
they're accused by something of manipulation and beat or fixing matching and something like that.
It
Uh,
did in the past, yes. Some of
yes.
the countries, I think, this happened in, I think, in Sri Lanka and Pakistan also, because these are the issues.
Yes, I remember the decision that issued from FIFA about this.
Yeah.
But at
So,
the same times, we have a lot of countries like Morocco, like also here in Egypt, we work hard to be in line with FIFA regulation. I think, and also we see in Asia, Saudi Arabia.
yeah.
Saudi Arabia, I think, work hard, and I think Asia, Saudi Arabia, in my opinion, in another place now, and
Yeah.
okay, and China, and I think Russia before the problems that happened with Ukraine. But I think Russia in Europe, not in Asia. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah.
I mean that China also was, I think, made a lot of improvement, and
Yeah.
the league there is very good. So I think there is a lot of countries in Africa and in Asia attempted a lot to
Yeah.
be in line with FIFA regulation and to be in line in sports international system.
Yeah, I agree. And in India, what happens? Some of the clubs are doing pretty well because they change the sporting structure, how they have to operate it. And I think Bangalore Football Club is someone who is doing really good in the past. I think from 2012, and some of the clubs like Kerala Blasters Football Club, who are
Yes.
very new, they are also doing really great. But I really want to see the how the old, because I'm very old school in terms of the fan following. Mohan Bagan and East Bengal Football Club, these are the they had a very rich history. And in India, we have the third oldest tournament, the IFF Shield Trophy, which is one of the third oldest trophy in the
Yes.
football all around the globe. And it's a, and let's see what will happen, because we have to change some of the sporting culture, especially the governing principles in time to time. The government is working in terms of how they have to evolve our sporting culture, because we are targeting to play into the FIFA World Cup, and we also
Yes.
targeting to bid for the Summer Olympics after the 2040. Let's see what will happen, because these are very major global events. Are India prepared to host such kind of global events or not? Time will tell. So yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So let's move on to our next question, a very interesting one. So you are from the Egypt, and you see the problem with the African origin football players migrating into the European nation, and they are playing for their country. How can
Yes.
African nations can keep the talented pool? We see that Paul Pogba, we see John Musiala. Such players are doing pretty good. They are playing at the top leagues in the
Yes.
European countries. But
Yes.
we also see the players like Ashraf Hakimi,
Ashraf
and
Hakimi.
yeah, and there's Hakim Ziyech, a very talented people. And recently we saw the performance of the Sophie Amrabat. What a player he did! He played in the midfield in the World Cup, because I followed such teams who are doing pretty well, who are really underrated, especially Japan also, because Japan is also, they beat the teams like Spain and Germany into the group stage matches, which is not easy, but still they done it because their players are playing into the Bundesliga league, and they are performing
Mm,
really well. So
yes.
how we can keep such talented players, especially from the African nations, so that
Really? To,
we really wanted to see that how the nation like Ghana, nation like Ivory Coast, nation like such nations who can perform really well. Senegal also is an example who done pretty well into the past in the African Nations Cup. They have such
yes.
a great performance. Even Egypt, Mohamed Salah, who is someone from your country. So yeah, please go ahead on this issue.
Yes, really. To be honest with you, also this question is very very hard and too hard, because this is a deep problem for and all African nation is struggling with it. I think we also France in the World Cup, in the Qatar World Cup. The last World Cup, we also that France team. Most of the players are, I think, African, and in the World Cup 2018, we also the Belgium. Most of the
Right.
players of the team is African. So this is very important and very important problem, and it's a huge problem and a hard problem. But in my perspective, the solution to this problem is yes, it's too hard, but is not at the same time is not impossible. It needs more effort from governments, and also it need more from government sides that shall give and provide the player with tools, with facilities,
Right.
with money. I think so. Also, to the talent player, to keep the talent player with them, or to play under their name, and also at the same times we need, or it's need to the solution. It need, I think, more effort from the player side.
Mhm.
The player also should not thinking in their benefits only, and in their benefits in searching a money only. No, I think the player should thinking in the benefits of their countries. And we all saw Ashraf Hakimi and Hakim Ziyech. They choose and they decide to play in Morocco.
Right.
But the problem is, to be honest with you, the problem is that these players, African players, searching about the rich countries,
Right.
because their countries, most of their countries, not all, but most of their countries are poor, are or don't and don't give this player and don't provide this player with tools, with facilities, with all abilities that make them be professional players. And all the players you see now in televisions that who playing in the big teams in Europe, I think all of them go or went too early when they was young, from
Right.
16 years old and 18 years old, to play in Europe. And all of
Right.
them again, I think, or all of yes, all of them gain a lot of facilities, a lot of tools, a lot of monies to keep their talent, and to be now top players like Mohammed Salah also
Mhm.
went out from Egypt when he was, I think, 18 years old.
Yeah, in Switzerland, he played for the FC Basel. Yeah, he
Yes,
started his career
Basel.
with the
Yes,
FC Basel.
Basel. So it's very important. It's very important, but it's very important when countries support the players to play in Europe, to play the big team in the Europe. This is very important to us, and I think here in Egypt we support the player to travel to play in Europe. But at the same times we need to save and to keep these players.
Mhm.
So to keep this player with you, you have to give them a lot of advantage features. To
Mhm.
keep them
Right.
with you, you have to give them a lot of features. I think we have an example here, that Stephen Sharawi, he was playing in national team of Italy. He refused to play in Egypt because he see from his opinion that Egypt didn't go to, or doesn't go to the Egyptian the World Cup a lot. So
Right.
why I come to Egypt to play? To why I come to play with Egypt, and at the same time I have an opportunity to play with Italy, that has a chance to be or to appear in the World Cup every period. So this is a problem. So and also, to be honest with you, if we see the experience of Morocco did a lot of things to keep this talent.
Right.
Morocco, I think, since 10 years, Morocco started their project. They
Mhm.
give the player tools. They established an academy
Mhm.
to I think to searching about the good talent player from Morocco. and
Mm-hmm.
this academy
Mm-hmm.
supervise this player, and gives him a lot of money, gives him a lot of tools and a lot of facilities to keep this player. However, and at the same time, this academy supports this player to and encourages this player to play in Europe, but under its under its govern, or under its rules. You know,
Mm-hmm. Right.
this is this is what this or the main rules that can makes African nation
Mm-hmm.
to keep the talent player to play under their names.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. Agree. I completely agree with this. And speaking of which, you talk about the Morocco team who played really well in the FIFA World Cup, and their performance something which I think country like us, India, we can take an aspiration at how we can also ended up into to play into that such global events, and because of this, we see a very positive signs from the uh, teams like Morocco, teams like Japan also, because they are
Yes,
someone who even Saudi Arabia they beat Argentina in their opening
yes,
match, which is a
yes,
very huge thing. So.
yes.
Uh,
Saudi Arabia has a program from started from a lot of years to and they also they has they established something like academy
right.
to encourage the player to go to the to play in the Europe team, and
Hmm.
they searching about the talent player, and this talent player, the Saudi Arabia pay a lot of this player,
Hmm.
even more. They pay for the clubs that the player can go to trial with. So if
All
you
right.
have, for example, if there are clubs in Europe, maybe the Saudi Arabia can pay for this club to put or to take some players, some talented players, to get an experience with the Europe players. This is very important because that
Right.
we saw that Saudi Arabia beat Argentina in World Cup.
Right.
Yes, and
Mm-hmm.
Saudi Arabia has a very clear program, and they are working hard
Mm-hmm.
to achieve this program and achieve this goal of this program.
Mm-hmm.
So we need also in African people, African countries, we need also, and also in some countries in Asia, we need also to work in this to work in the same line, to
Right.
be in the same side with these countries, that they always see the future.
Yeah. And because we see that recently, India signed the memorandum of understanding with the Qatar Football Federation, and
Yes,
so that what they adopted that model, so that they can also implement that such model into the Indianized version, so that we can have a really good pool of talented players who can play into the especially in the European leagues. Recently in India, from the men's, I'm talking about the from the men's national football team. Only one player ended up playing into the Europa League, and that was Gurpreet Singh Sandhu, and he is the only man football player from India who played into the Europa League. I think from
yes,
he because one of our guests Abhishek Sharma who he represent Gurpreet Singh Sandhu from his sporting agency, but from the female national team from India, women's team are doing pretty well. Some of the athletes did play into the top Premier League football club. One from the Tottenham Hotspurs. I cannot remember her name, but she's a very talented player. She played for the top flight into the Premier League, and this is the
wow,
very positive signs from the women's team who can perform really well. And we have to focus also on the women teams that how they can play into the World Cup, because they have the better chance in terms of the men's team. To be very honest, they had a very better chance to participate in the global events if we have a really good structure. We can see a good wave of the women football players can play into the World Cup. They can represent the India into the global stage. They can be playing in the very top football clubs into the Europe. And we
yes,
can take the aspiration how the United States has done. Their women's team are really, really good. But however, their sporting culture is different, because what they do, they have a massive collegiate system. Because of the collegiate system, they get so many talented players. But
Wow.
it cannot happen in India because we are not a developed nation. We had a very lesser funds right now. To be very honest, we don't have the funds like what private companies in the American nation they have that. But in India we don't have that kind of. But we have to also have that sustainable model so that we can generate a really good, talented 30 players who can become the future stars of the
Yes.
Indian football national team, whether it's the women team or it's the men's team. And
Yes.
because we can see, because the performance of the Morocco, performance of the Saudi Arabia, performance from the Japan, it's a very positive signs. We can take such kind of examples and we can implement such kind of models that they implement in their nation. But will it work in India? We have to see, because we have to also see that how the football leagues happen in India, how the recruiting system, how the scouting system work, because these all things are very interconnected to each other.
Yes, yes. I think it's required a project, and this project we have to implement it to achieve the goals. Do you know that why Belgium reached to the semi-final in the World Cup 2018? Because the government of the Belgium, all of them worked in this team from the beginning until I think. Before this World Cup for 10 years of the World Cup of 2018.
Right.
So if you have a plan, if you have a good strategy
Mhm.
to uh, to reach some goal, I think we can do that if we implement this plan very well.
Yes, agree. And we also see that how Serbia as a nation, Croatia is something which is a very great example because it was a part of the
Yes,
Czechoslovakia.
yes, right.
And after the Czechoslovakia split into the three, four nations, we see such a small nations. They generate really talented players, especially from the Croatia. Luka Modric, they have so many talented
Yeah.
players. Diego
Yes, yes,
Costa.
right, right. Interesting.
Yeah, that's the thing that we have to see. Yeah, let's move on to our next question. A very interesting one. So, new FIFA agent exam has been enforced by the FIFA in the January this year only. A lot of changes has been done and they want to implement it. The first is the notable things are the registration process, eligibility criteria, FIFA agents chamber, which needs to resolve the disputes of the FIFA, the sports agents who are representing the athletes or who are representing the clubs, and the most important thing, capping of the commissions, which is one of the biggest issue, which can lead into the new, we can say, litigation process into the various jurisdiction. Will the new regulation will really hamper the opportunities for the new aspiring sports agent who want to work into the football industry, who really want to qualify as a FIFA agent and be work with the athletes, not as a super agent, but they can start with that. So
Yes.
will it really hamper the opportunity because the capping of the commissions, because the new agents they do not make such kind of money.
Yes, right. I'm agree with you. But actually, to be honest with you, we are pleased that finally FIFA issued the regulation for agents to return them back under its umbrella again. So this is very important thing, and so now agent can protect their contractual rights from any violations that may be happened by their clients, maybe coach players and the clubs. Before this regulation, I received a lot of complaint from agents that they come to me to submit a claim before FIFA to ask their clients to pay them their commission, but we don't have any tools to submit any claim because FIFA was refused to accept the agent claim. But now now after the FIFA issued the regulation for agent, I think FIFA wants to regulate the agent activities, wants to govern all things for the agents. This is very important thing, and this is very positive thing. to the agent. But I think there is a lot of problems, like as you said, capping of commission. We are surprised of of the capping of commission. I don't. From my perspective is not reasonable that FIFA talking about 3 or 6% for the commission for of any deals made by by agents. So it's very hard, and I think it's clear, or it's appear clearly that FIFA thinking, or FIFA look at the big agents,
Right.
not look at to the small agents who are working on the deals not exceed $2,000 or $300,000.
Right.
And I think a lot of agents, I see a lot of agents working in deals of $10,000, not 1,000, or
Right.
not $1,100 or something like that. So if we applicable this rule of capping the commission, I think this agent will take 300 $300 from the deals that made by that from the deals made of I think $10,000. So for my opinion, I see that that FIFA okay made something good, that they issued the agent regulation, and the FIFA has a good aims to that they want to regulate and organize and govern the activities the agent activities. But at the same time, we all the lawyers have a duty to recommend to provide a FIFA with a lot of recommendation to amend to amend the problems of to amend some problems and some articles in these rules, such as the cap of commission. And I have my own opinion in this regard, and I think I told you that before, that FIFA can, if you want FIFA to FIFA can to look to the big agents, and at the same time shall to look to the small agents by both rules to as a maximum commission. So FIFA can put $200,000 or $300,000 as a maximum, and any deals above this amount, FIFA can apply the rule of 3 or 6%
Right.
as they stated. But if the deals below this maximum, okay, the agents can take 10 percentage or something like that as without any problem. Uh,
Right.
yes, this is my opinion, to make a balance between the big agents and also the small agents who are still starting to work in this field.
Right, absolutely, I agree with you, because in India we don't have any that super agent who make really big amount like
Yes.
this super agents make into the European market. And because capping of the commissions, it become a very really arbitrary in nature. If we talk about how the other nations like France, like Italy, they that sports agents association, they will file the petition into their respective jurisdiction whether such kind of arbitrary rules can affect the livelihood of the uh, the aspiring sports agent, because that will be really hamper their right to life, the one of the most important rule of the constitution. And
Yes.
if that thing is really arbitrary in nature, the respective jurisdiction, the respective courts can take such kind of actions. That no, this cannot you do it, because 6% in the deal which are less than $200,000, I think
As a
this is
commission, as a
as a
commission,
commission, yeah,
yes, it's
cap.
big amount, big amount. So FIFA can. I see that, okay, it's a big amount, but if the deal above this amount, okay, FIFA can apply on the remaining amount above this amount as a percentage of 3 or 6 like
Right.
FIFA wants to do. This is very important, and I think we will make the balance between the small agents
Mm-hmm. Right.
and the big agents, like agent of Cristiano, agent of Messi, of Neymar. They takes a lot of money.
Yeah, because I don't know how FIFA operate because I'm not the really good person who can comment it. But what I see, FIFA take it as FIFA agent like Jorge Mendes, like Mino Raiola, who is no more in this world. They take it as a one entity, but they don't see there's a whole sport agency involved in it. They are the people who are working. They are the, I think, paralegals. They are the smaller agents, the who are they just getting the experience while working in that sporting agency. They are the social media agents who are also involved in that sport agency because they had a certain departments who are working on that. So yeah, let's
Yeah.
see what will happen. And because the next exam will be in the month of the April, let's see what will happen, how the new exam pattern will become on board because a lot of the people are working on that. So yeah, let's see. So next one to our most important question. So recently we saw Shakhtar Donetsk, a club from the Ukraine. They made an appeal, which was dismissed by the Court of Arbitration of Sports regarding the compensation, which is amounting around 50 million euros from the FIFA. As we all know, in 2022, a war is going on between the two countries, Ukraine and the Russia, and we see that majority of the matches are shifted into the neutral venue, and we see a lot of the players are taking a transfer into the other nations. Like recently, we saw Chelsea signed the Mikhail Mudryk from Shakhtar Donetsk at the $100 million, which is a very big amount. So, how, because you are an experienced, you are the international sports lawyer, you have already dealt such kind of cases. What are the things which need to be resolved? Because it's no more football matter, it is a whole infrastructure. Because actually, because football players are also involved, they are the people who are working into the clubs as a photographer, as a social media manager, as a physiotherapist, and their livelihood is also into the into tussle. And because we see so many things are happening into this Russia Ukraine war, so what are your views on that?
Regarding Russia and Ukraine,
No, regarding to the that 50 million euros court of arbitration appeal, which was dismissed by the
really,
gas.
it's very huge amount. And also, before I starting to say about this case, I have to say that football usually or always wants people safe,
Yeah,
and the countries, and we also don't want any war to any country, and we want that this war stop sooner without any problem. And I think the stable for each country is very important. And as we don't like to see something like what happened between Russia and Ukraine, and that happened. I think to talk in political things is very. I don't like to talk in the political things, and this is a slogan for FIFA that we are in football and don't like to talk about any political things. And I know you
right.
asked me about the case of Shakhtar, I think so, right?
Shakhtar Donetsk. Yeah,
Shakhtar, yes. But I think I told you before that for me, I don't prefer to talk about the case that I don't know a lot of details about it.
right.
I just knew a lot of things from news.
Mhm.
So so it's very important also decision. But to be honest with you, I didn't know a lot of things about this about the details of this decision. But anyway, I can talk with you about the recent case that we worked on here in our and with our team, and
Right.
we achieved success in this case. This is very important case, and also there is a lot of general legal principle to it. This case was between Omani club and the Egyptian football club. Egyptian football player. I think so. This disputes was on an international dimension, and the FIFA Football Tribunal is competing to hear these disputes, as this dispute is an international dimension. The subject of this case that Omani club terminated the contract after 60 days, 6 of signing the contract on the basis of the lack of performance of the player and the low level of the player, and they use Article 6 of the employment contract to terminate the contract, as the Article 6 of the employment contract entitled the club the right to terminate the contract with or without just cause if the player has low level. But at the same time, according to well-established jurisprudence by FIFA and CAS, the contract may not be terminated under this principle, or not be terminated because the player the player has a lack of performance of the low of level of the player. So we did our work, as we sent a notice to the club to inform them about the rules, and the contract may not be terminated according to lack of performance of the player. And we give the club, I think, 10 days to review and to convince the club to withdraw the I think the termination, the decision of termination. But the club insisted to continue in this way, and to insisted in its position, which made us to resort to FIFA Football Tribunal to ask the club for outstanding salaries plus compensation under the Article 17 of FIFA RSTB, and to see that the club made it, and to tell FIFA that the club made termination without just cause under Article 14 piece, and we ask the club to pay outstanding salaries plus a compensation under Article 17 and 5 interest, 5 percentage as an interest, together with 6 months salaries for specificity of sports, and at the end we win this case. So I think here there is a very important rule, because a lot of, I think you have a lot of audience who maybe lawyers, maybe clubs, maybe players, they don't know this information, that the contract may not be terminated according to lack of performance. However, if there any article or any rule at the contract gives the club entitled to or gives the club the right to terminate the contract. So this is very important issue, and this is very important legal principle. And I think there is a lot of legal principle.
Right.
Sometimes the club put a lot of rules, and the club at the same time don't know or doesn't know that these rules can't apply, because FIFA prevents that. Like the contract maybe not subject to visa, the contract not subject to the medical examination, the contract not subject to any administrative rules.
Right.
So if you have, however, although you have a article or rule in the contract give you right to terminate the contract based on these rules, the FIFA will refuse that, and will terminate the contract, and you will and give the player all his remuneration and all his requests, because the club terminated the contract without just cause.
Interesting, because these are things that people don't know about it, and what are things which we because we know about the FIFA RSTP, the rules which are embodied to monitor such kind of transfer deal, whether clubs are also involved in it, and we already know it. But
Yes.
people, the common people, they don't know about it, that how this kind of litigation process, because the arbitration process is a kind of a litigation process, which is not a very lengthy process. ADR is something which is, I think, one of the best thing that can happen, especially the matter which shall be dissolved within 3 to 6 months. And I think the this important case which happened right now, we have to see at how the next move by the club, that whether they will challenge this case into the I think there's one more, you can challenge such kind of decision of the gas into the Switzerland courts,
Yeah.
which, because sometimes this happen that some of the sporting organizations, some of the clubs, they challenge such decisions and which get overturned, and which we have to see that how it will be happen, because a lot of work needs to be done in background. So moving on to the last question. So what advice do you want to give to the young aspiring lawyers who want to work into the sports legal industry? So your views on that, because a lot of people like us, because I started, because in 2020 I graduated, and within that year I get the opportunity to come to pursue my LLM. And right now I shifted my career, because in 2020 I shifted my career into the sports legal industry. Earlier I was to doing some IPR work in my legal internships, but I think no, sports is something which I involve and I really want to work in it, because I'm better in that. I cannot work my whole life into the trademark design copyright. So yeah, your views on it.
Yes, my usually my advice to the junior lawyers um, are consists of three things. For me, I usually advise junior lawyers to read a lot because knowledge is power.
Right.
Be patient because this field needs a lot of time and effort, and
Yeah.
focus clearly on your goals and don't get distracted. So
Right.
the secret for achieving success in this field and in other fields are reading, focusing, and be patient.
Yeah.
To summarize to all junior lawyer, my advice, and to not talk a lot about a lot of advice, but for me this is the main advice
Mm-hmm.
for the lawyers, that reading a lot because knowledge is power. Be patient
Mm-hmm.
because this field needs a lot of time and effort. Focus
Mm-hmm.
clearly on your goal and don't get distracted.
Absolutely. So I think that is, we already covered so many topics. Thank you so much, Mr. Hisham, for coming on board. We are planning this episode for quite a long time, but because some of the things that didn't happen, but finally we recorded. And yeah, any last word before we end this session?
Really, I would like to thank you about that you having me with you in your podcast. Really, it was interesting, and really, I'm happy also to know you and to talk with you about all things. I think we collect all things in this field from the beginning, from the starting of this journey until the advice to junior lawyers. So really, to be honest with you, I'm so happy to know you, and I'm so happy to be with you to be with you in this podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on board for this session. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening to the end of this episode. If you really like our episode, make sure that you like and subscribe our channel. Also, you can find me and Sports Sausage on a social media platform. I'll put the link down below of our link tree link so that you can go and check us out. And if you want to know what are things that I'm doing, so just follow me on the Instagram. So it's a TK Sports Lawyer. So just find me on, as well as on Twitter and Instagram. So yeah, we will meet you in our next episode. Until then, goodbye everyone.